Привет! Так, не главное там никому ничего не показывать. Так, продолжим читать книгу. Я немножечко читала без вас. Poor pistol, Oh yeah, she smiled, but I noticed the tears in her eyes. I remembered smelling the scotch on her breath. Главное еще, чтобы телефон не упал. Я не думаю, что он берет. On her breath when she scooped me up in her arms as tenderly as she could. My father trailed in after her, sloppy and annoyed. He pulled a pistol from beneath the cushion where I slept. Yes, you read that right. There was a loaded gun under the cushion on which I slept at 6 years old. Flashed it at me and smiled before concealing it beneath his pant leg in an ankle holster. In his other hand were two brown paper shopping bags filled with nearly $10,000 in cash. So far it was a typical night. My parents didn't speak on the drive home, though the tension between them simmered. My mom pulled into the driveway on Paradise Road just before 6 a.m., a little early by our standards. Trudy stumbled from the car, disabled the alarm, dropped the cash on the kitchen table, and went upstairs. We followed him, and she took us both into our beds, kissed me on the forehead, and turned out the light before slipping into the master suite, where she found him waiting, stroking his leather belt. Я думаю, они вообще не думали о мастурбации. Там вообще какое-то несчастье. Trunies didn't appreciate being glared at by my mom, especially in public. This belt came all the way from Кстати, Техас мы называем, а на английском Texas. И Adidas у них Adidas. Не Adidas, а Adidas. И не Nike, а Nike. So, Texas, just to whip you, he said, call me. Then he started swinging it buckle first. Sometimes my mother fell back, and she did that night. She threw a marble candlestick at his head. He ducked, and it thudded the wall. She ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and covered on the toilet. He kicked the door down and backhanded her hard. Okay. Her head slammed into the wall. She was barely conscious when he grabbed a fistful of her hair and dragged her down the hall. Короче, я думаю, это описание драки. Какой-то жесткой. By then, my brother and I had heard the violence, and we watched him drag her all the way down the stairs to the first floor. Я только сейчас, наверное, понимаю, каково детям видеть, как их маму бьют, потому что это... Мама для них это защита, опора, и когда они видят, что их маме причиняют боль, это подрывает чувство защиты и опоры. By then, my brother and I had heard the violence, and we watched him drag her all the way down the stairs to the first floor, then crouch over her with the belt in his hand. She was bleeding from the temple and the lip, and the sight of her blood lit a fuse in me. In that moment, my hatred overcame my fear. I ran downstairs and jumped on his back, slammed my tiny fists into his back, and scratched at his eyes. I caught him off guard, and he fell to one knee. I wailed on him. Don't hit my mom, I yelled. He tossed me to the ground, stalked toward me, belt in hand, then turned toward my mother. You're raising a gangster, he said, half smiling. I curled into a ball when he started swinging his belt at me. I could feel bruises rise on my back as my mom crawled toward the control pad near the front door. She pressed the panic button and the house exploded in alarm. He froze, looked over the ceiling, mopped his brow with his sleeve, took a deep breath, looked, unbuckled his belt, and went upstairs to wash off all that evil and hate. Police were on their way, and he knew it. My mother's relief was short-lived. When the cops arrived, Trunis met them at the door. They looked over his shoulder toward my mom, who stood several paces behind him, her face swollen and caked with dried blood. But those were different days. There was no Me Too back then. There was no Me Too back then. That she didn't exist. And they ignored her. Охренеть. Типа там вообще было жесткое. Муж, я так понимаю, жестко избивал жену на глазах детей. Дети начали защищать маму. В итоге мама вызвали полицию. Но полиция полиция увидела, в каком состоянии мама, там с засохшей кровью. Но они проигнорировали ее. Здесь автор объясняет, ребенок, который он про свое детство рассказывает, как я понимаю, это он. Автор. Он объясняет про то, что тогда не было тренда Me Too. И физическое насилие над женщиной было нормой. Никогда нет. Это же... Если норма издеваться над женщиной, тогда нет продолжения рода, потому что всегда после женщины есть дети, которых она выносила в себе, вырастила в своем животе телом физически. И если это норма издеваться над женщиной, тогда дети... это отсутствие продолжения рода. Дети-то... Как объяснить? Дети они росли в животе у мамы, они питаются молоком матери. Женщина физически свое тело, свою кровь, свои микроэлементы, весь свой организм, женский организм создает ребенка. Позволяет этому происходить, поддерживает эту среду. А потом женщина выходит. Женщина, если не будет рожать, она же может убить. Но она делает это все, ее тело делает это все. Дети рождаются без каких-то предрассудков и так далее, которые были у их родителей. И если дети рождаются абсолютно чистыми, они единственное, что воспринимают, что мама их родила. Вот эта женщина дала им. У них есть эта связь. Это единственная информация, которая у них есть. Первая информация, которая у них есть. Что есть мама. Это влияет на детей. Издевательство над женщиной влияет на детей. Поэтому чем больше в семье прав у женщины, тем счастливее дети и будущее поколение. That she didn't exist and they ignored her. Trunis told them it was all a lot of nothing. Trunis told them it was all a whole lot of nothing. Just some necessary domestic discipline. Look at this house. Does it look like I mistreat my wife? He asked. I give her mink coats, diamond rings. I bust my ass to give her everything she wants, and she throws a marble candlestick at my head. She's spoiled. Что значит she throws кинула marble candlestick marble. Я забыла, как переводится marble. Это популярный недавно был цвет. Окей. Candlestick. Мраморный. Короче, что-то там для конфет. The police chuckled along with my father as he walked. В общем, в этой ситуации, конечно же, дети ни за что не будут, ни один ребенок не будет на стороне отца или кого-то еще, в которых их ситуацию, если в этой ситуации обижают их маму. Ни один ребенок никогда не будет на стороне обидчиков матери, на стороне тех, кто причиняет их маме хотя бы малейшую боль. Ребенок не может, а люди не знают это. They left without interviewing her. He didn't hit her again that morning. He didn't have to. The psychological damage was done. From that point on, it was clear to us that as far as trueness... Но мужчина, который это все совершал, он психически больной человек. And the law were concerned, it was open season, and we were the two hunted. И дело не в том, что он плохой. Он болен, и ему самому нужна помощь. Over the next year, our schedule didn't change much, and the beatings continued, while my mother tried to paper over the darkness with swatches of light. She knew I wanted to be a scout, so she signed me up for a local troop. I still remember putting on that navy blue club scout button down on one Saturday. I felt proud wearing a uniform and knowing at least for a few hours I could pretend that I was a normal kid. My mom smiled as we headed for the door. My pride, her smile, wasn't just because of the damn Cub Scouts. They rose up from a deeper place. We were taking action to find something positive for ourselves in a bleak situation. It was proof that we mattered and that we weren't completely powerless. That's when my father came home from the vermilion room. Where are you two going? He glared at me. I stared at the floor. My mother cleared her throat. I'm taking David to his first Cub Scout meeting, she said softly. The hell you are! I looked up and he laughed as my eyes welled up with tears. We are going to the track. Within the hour, we'd arrived at Batavia Downs, an old-school harness horse racetrack, the type where jockeys ride behind their horses in lightweight budgets. My dad grabbed a racing form as soon as we stepped through the gate. For hours, the three of us watched him place bet after bet, chain smoke, drink scotch, and raise holy hell as every pony he bet on finished out of the money. With my dad raging at the gambling gods and acting a fool, I tried to make myself as small as possible. Whenever people walked by, I still stuck out. I was the only kid in the stands dressed like a Cub Scout. I was probably the only black Cub cow they'd ever seen, and my uniform was a lie. I was pretended. Trunius lost thousands of dollars that day, and he wouldn't shut up about it. On the drive home, from he rescued through raw from nicotine, but my brother and I were in the cramped back seat, and whenever he spat out the window, his flag boomeranged into my face. Each drop of his nasty sliver, my skin burned like venom and intensified my hate. I'd long since learned that the best way to avoid a beatdown was to make myself as invisible as possible, avert my eyes, float outside my body, and hope to go unnoticed. It was a practice we'd all honed over the years, but I was done with that shit. I would no longer hide from the devil. That afternoon, as he whirred onto the highway and headed home, he continued to rave on, and I mad dogged him from the back seat. Have you ever heard the phrase faith over fear? For me, it was hate over fear. He caught my eyes, and in the rear view mirror, "You got something to say?" "We shouldn't have gone to the track anyway," I said. My brother turned and stared at me like I had lost my damn mind. My mother squirmed in her seat. Короче, это просто книга, наверное, автобиография, исповедь, чтобы облегчить сделать легче для своей души. Yes, I think so. Вот сказочка конец. Продолжим скоро.